Watch this. Winning your match starts before the first serve. And most amateur players get the coin toss decision completely wrong. Let's talk about practical matchday strategy, the kind of details most amateurs completely overlook. Before you even hit a ball, the coin toss matters. Say your opponent wins the toss and chooses to serve first. That means you get to pick which side of the table you play on. And that choice is huge. I always pick the side where the wall is behind my opponent, the side with the fewest moving objects in my line of sight. That way, nothing is distracting me during the rally. You want the cleanest background possible for your first game. Think about it, if people are walking back and forth behind your opponent's side, your focus is constantly being pulled away. But if the background is clean, a plain wall, your concentration stays locked on the ball. So always choose the side that's least distracting for Game 1. Why Game 1 specifically? Because in a best of 5 or best of 7, the final game is always odd-numbered. 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. Whoever had the better side in Game 1 gets it again in the decider. Now the second point. What if your opponent says you choose? If you won the toss, don't pick serve. Pick the court side instead. If you don't choose serve, you get to choose the court, and that's the smarter play. Here's why. Think about who serves when. First server goes at 0-0, 2-2, 4-4, 6-6, 8-8, 10-8, the serve stays on your side. Then at 9-9, it's still yours. So whoever serves first ends up serving at the most critical moments of the game. That sounds like an advantage, but it's actually pressure. You want your opponent carrying that burden. Let them serve under pressure at 9-all, while you focus on a strong receive. Imagine you fight all the way to 9-9, and suddenly it's your opponent's turn to serve under maximum pressure. They toss one up, you misread the spin, and just like that you dump a push into the net or pop it up for an easy kill. The whole game slips away. Then you switch ends for Game 2, and now you're on the distracting side, people moving behind the table, your eyes darting around. You fall behind 0-2, 2-5, and before you know it, the set is gone. Now let's talk about serving habits. The most important rule is simple: pick up the ball quickly, but don't rush your actual serve. Grab the ball, walk to your position with purpose. While you're picking up the ball, that's your thinking time. Don't zone out wondering what's for dinner. Use those few seconds to plan. Where did my opponent's last return go? If they pushed it back half long, maybe I set up to flick. Start building your next point in your head the moment you bend down for the ball. Get your feet moving, lower your center of gravity, and settle into your stance. You can stand square, slightly open, slightly closed, whatever feels natural. The key is to stabilize yourself. Calm your mind, steady your hand, and find your rhythm before you toss the ball. If you rush, it feels like an ambush, but you're ambushing yourself. When you suddenly fire off a serve without settling, your own rhythm is broken. Instead, come to a complete stop in your serving stance, pause, and then deliver the ball. When you serve from a still, composed position, your opponent has to wait with you, and then react to your sudden acceleration. That split second of disruption is already an advantage. They're caught slightly off balance before the rally even starts. But if you just scoop up the ball and fling it over without pausing, your opponent stays perfectly comfortable. You're the one who isn't ready. Rushing your serve is a guaranteed way to make unforced errors. And here's another point I cannot stress enough. Stand right up against the end of the table when you serve. Press your body close to it. If you stand too far back, you lose your reference point for the first bounce. In practice, you might look smooth and confident, but the moment match pressure hits, that extra distance makes you sail the ball long or dump it into the net. It's honestly comical how different some players look in a match versus training. When you're pressed against the table, you almost can't miss the first bounce. The ball naturally lands on your side of the table because you're right there controlling the distance. That close stance lets you place the first bounce accurately, and accuracy kills nervousness. Stand still, pause, then explode into the serve. The ball becomes much more threatening because your opponent has to wait in that stillness with you, then suddenly react. That change of pace is deeply uncomfortable for the receiver. So remember, settle your body, control your rhythm, and serve with intention. Now let's look at receiving sidespin-topspin serves. I'll demonstrate from the far side so you can see clearly. Then trying to overpower every ball, that's the lowest level of table tennis thinking. Most recreational players, when they can't win, just try to smash harder. But table tennis is absolutely a game of intelligence. I always keep the risk of raw power as low as possible. What's low risk? Not forcing every shot. Instead, I use placement, variation, rhythm, speed, and spin. Only when all of those fail do I commit to an all-out attack. Because against most recreational opponents, if you simply reduce their time by even a fraction of a second, you gain a massive advantage. That tiny reduction in their reaction time is enough to win points. At the professional level, players like Fan Zhendong and Ma Long have to go all out, whoever backs off loses. But at the amateur level, everyone is soft. Everyone has holes. So don't worry about whether your push is perfect or your placement lands exactly right. Your opponent will struggle with any variation you throw at them. Start by playing smart and playing varied. If you never practice changing direction, say, switching to a down-the-line ball, you'll spend your whole career being led around by opponents who do. Put power last on your list. First, attack weaknesses. Then use spin, then add speed. Then change patterns. Only when nothing else works do you go all out. Power is your last resort, not your first instinct. After that, now imagine it's 0-0 and you try a different approach. Watch, I take this ball and instead of hammering it, I add a little friction, brushing it gently. On the next push, I angle slightly to the side, steering it wide. See how soft and controlled that stroke is? I guide it with a little side spin. Now we're at 1-all. I serve not hard, just a smooth, medium-paced ball. After my topspin serve, I place the next shot to a specific spot. 2-1. Then a short ball comes, my opponent pushes it back, and instead of loading up, I just lift it with a controlled loop. From there we rally, and I keep working placement, everything at about 50% power. Serve at 50, loop at 50, attack at 50. The goal is to build your framework first. Don't let your game fall apart. Don't panic. What most players do right now is serve and immediately go to 100% on every single ball, full power, every shot, maximum force. And it all breaks down. You have to soften your hands first. If your touch is stiff, nothing works. Bring it down to 50% and learn to outmaneuver your opponent. Develop the ability to stay in the rally and make them solve problems. If they can't put you away, you're the one in control.